Sex and fearful avoidant attachment. 7 shocking patterns you must recognize. Sex with a fearful avoidant partner is rarely just about passion, connection, or desire. It can feel like stepping into a beautiful yet unpredictable storm. 1 minute, there's closeness, the kind that makes you feel wanted and craved. The next, you're being pushed away, emotionally shut out, or left wondering what just happened. Why is it that a person who seems so drawn to intimacy also runs from it just as fast? The answer lies in the fearful avoidance, paradoxical attachment style. They want love, but they fear it. They crave touch, but fear vulnerability. In this video, we're diving deep into 7 shocking sexual patterns that reveal how fearful avoidants engage in intimate relationships and how you can protect yourself if you're caught in the cycle. Pattern 1. The push-pull of sexual intimacy. The first pattern is what I call seduce and retreat. A fearful avoidant may initiate intense sexual closeness one night, making you feel like you're finally breaking through their emotional walls. But by morning, they might become distant, cold, or even irritated by your presence. This isn't random, it's a protective mechanism. Fearful avoidants often fear being emotionally engulfed, even by people they care about. Sex becomes both a magnet and a trigger. While the act draws them in, the emotional aftermath of intimacy, the vulnerability, the potential for rejection overwhelms them. So they retreat. They ghost for a few days. They become irritable. Or they act like nothing happened. This emotional whiplash can be devastating if you're not aware it's a trauma response, not necessarily a reflection of how they feel about you. Pattern 2. Sex is a test, not just connection. Here's a dark truth. Sometimes fearful avoidants use sex as a way to test love, not express it. It's not always about pleasure or bonding. Instead, it's, will you still want me after I show you this part of me? Or can I feel safe letting you in, literally and emotionally? This makes sexual experiences with them intense, but also layered with hidden meanings. You may feel like you're in an audition, constantly being evaluated without knowing what role you're trying out for. If they sense the slightest hint of disinterest, disapproval, or rejection, even if it's imagined, they may shut down or accuse you of betrayal. The problem is, you often don't even know what they were trying to prove through the encounter. What starts as closeness ends with confusion because the test was never spoken aloud and the rules were never shared. Pattern 3. Shame and sexual avoidance. This one is hard to talk about, but it's very real. Many fearful avoidants carry deep, unspoken shame around their bodies, desires, or sexual performance. Often this comes from unresolved childhood trauma, abuse, or being raised in environments where sex was taboo or unsafe. Because of this, they may fluctuate between being highly sexual to being completely avoidant. 1 week they're initiating wild intimacy, and the next they act like you're invading their space by simply trying to kiss them. That shame creates a fear that they will be exposed or seen too deeply during sex. For them, being naked isn't just physical, it's emotional. And so they may avoid sex altogether for long periods, offering vague excuses like, I'm just not in the mood, or blaming stress. In reality, they're flooded with internal conflict, craving connection but terrified of being judged or rejected when they show up authentically. Pattern 4. Intensity over consistency. With fearful avoidance, sex is often fueled by high emotional arousal, not steady connection. So they may find themselves more sexually active when there's drama, conflict, or chaos in the relationship. The more emotionally charged the atmosphere, the more they feel alive and connected. But when the relationship is calm and stable, they might pull away sexually, complaining that things feel off or boring. This is because their nervous system is wired to associate intensity with love, a result of early relationships that were unpredictable or unsafe. So sex becomes a roller coaster, not a bridge. If you notice that intimacy only happens after arguments or when there's emotional distance to close, you're witnessing this shocking pattern. It's not real bonding, it's trauma bonding. And if you're not careful, you'll confuse instability with passion and neglect the peace that healthy love actually brings. Pattern 5. The disappear after deep sex syndrome. One of the most painful patterns is when a fearful avoidant becomes incredibly connected during sex, emotionally open, present, even affectionate, only to withdraw or vanish shortly after. It's confusing. The person who held you tenderly last night might not return your text today. Why? Because the experience of being fully open, physically and emotionally, is terrifying for them once it's over. In the moment, they might truly mean everything they express, but afterward, fear takes over. They worry about being too exposed. They overthink whether they did too much, said too much, or felt too much, and so they disappear. It's not because they used you, it's because their internal panic says, if you stay, they'll see the real you, and they might not love it. It's heartbreaking, especially if you have an anxious attachment style. But recognizing this pattern helps you stop blaming yourself for their disappearance and start understanding it's about their unresolved wounds, not your worth. Pattern 6, flirting, then ghosting, just to feel safe again. Fearful avoidants often crave connection, but fear what comes with it. So they might initiate flirty, even sexually suggestive behavior, texting you late at night, hinting at fantasies, or opening up just enough to spark chemistry. But right after that high, they'll ghost you. Why? Because in their nervous system, closeness often equals danger. Flirting gives them control. Ghosting gives them space. It's not because they've lost interest. It's because they don't know how to handle the emotions they just unlocked. It feels safer to disappear than to risk being seen too deeply or rejected first. Pattern 7, being good at sex to hide emotional fear. This one is sneaky. Some fearful avoidants become highly skilled lovers, not out of deep connection, but as a defense. Sex becomes a performance, something they perfect to avoid the vulnerability of emotional intimacy. They'll read your cues, learn what turns you on, and deliver what feels like intense passion. But beneath the surface, they're terrified you'll discover their emotional unavailability. So they use physical intimacy to mask the fact they're keeping their emotional walls intact. You'll leave the bed feeling connected, but later you'll realize they're just as emotionally closed off as before. That's not an accident. That's emotional survival. Here's the hardest part to accept. Loving someone with a fearful avoidant attachment style, especially when sex is involved, can be emotionally exhausting if you're not grounded. You'll constantly be asked to prove your worth, navigate their shame, and survive their emotional withdrawals. And unless they're doing the deep inner work to heal, you will always feel like you're walking on eggshells. Sex will never just be sex, it will be a battlefield of hope and fear. So what can you do? First, stop taking their patterns personally. Understand that their behavior is rooted in fear, not in your inadequacy. Second, set clear emotional boundaries. Don't allow your sense of self to be shaken every time they pull away. Third, if you're in a relationship with a fearful avoidant and want to make it work, suggest therapy or coaching that focuses on attachment trauma. Lastly, remember, you deserve a love that doesn't punish you for showing up. You deserve connection that's calm, not chaotic. And most of all, you deserve sex that feels safe, nourishing, and real, not another place where love goes to hide behind fear.